And good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Most Important Conversations Meditations. We hold these meditations daily, Monday through Friday, and the overarching theme of our meditations is liberation, particularly meaning liberating oneself from one's conditioning, from the conditioning that taught you who to be, how to be, and why to be, that you learned and picked up. It wasn't your fault, but through your friends, family, and community when you were younger, and developed patterns of thinking and seeing the world and interpreting the world, and developed a set of rules in your head for how the world worked and who you needed to be and how and why you needed to be that in order to be validated and seen and liked and not ostracized from the group. And so from a very young age, we learned how to bend ourselves to the world, bend ourselves to our external world, as opposed to create a life by design. We end up tolerating a life by default. We end up tolerating a life that is someone else's life because we're living it according to their rules, their expectations, their perceptions, their interpretations, their meaning. We haven't even created our own meaning. And so we lead these meditations to liberate ourselves from all of this so that we can step into our power as a creator of our own life by design. Before each meditation, we have a short talk, and the content from that talk is derived from our main program, Whole Life Architecture. Whole Life Architecture is precisely what the name suggests. It is a weekly interactive live workshop where participants are re-architecting their entire life. They're re-architecting their life in terms of how they think, how they feel, the physical environment and physical spaces they inhabit, and the spiritual domain of their life. They are getting the opportunity that most people don't get and haven't gotten to create a life by design and to no longer be living someone else's life in their conditioning, being a walking, habituated, unconscious reaction to everything. So if that interests you, you can learn more at TMICglobal.com, Whole Life Architecture. We'd love to have you join us. We've been speaking this week about space. We've been speaking about the importance of space and how by creating space we can show up and be a response to life as opposed to a walking, unconscious, habituated reaction instead of a victim. And it sounds kind of strange to think that just by injecting and incorporating space into our way of being, into the way that we live, that we can begin to loosen up the binds of our society and no longer experience life from the place of being a victim. Why do I say victim? Because until you are the master creator of your life by design, life occurs to you as though it just happens to you. Like you don't have any choice, like you don't have an option. It occurs to you as though it is coming at you from outside of you and not from within you being pushed out. And when we're orientated to life this way, we are in a place of incredible weakness. We are in a place where we are not connected to the source of power that we have internally to wield our creative potential and to actually lean into our desires and create a life around them, around our calling, around our purpose, around our aliveness. What makes us come alive? That doesn't matter to us. I mean, it matters, but it doesn't matter in the sense that we think we have an option when we're living life as a victim. And we live this life as a victim because we're living in such a way that we're in absolute activity, always moving, always busy, always up to something. And our doing, in terms of how we're living that life, is already predefined and is existing in our subconscious mind as habit. So it's easy for us to be busy, very busy, so busy that we haven't got time for anything. We move from one thing to the next thing to the next thing. And even when we have space and time in our day, we usually waste time, kill time, fill the space with scrolling and distraction and anything to make us sort of feel numb, to numb out the lack of aliveness our conditioned life of someone else that we are living is having on us. And so this is essentially when you are at a loss of power and you believe there's nothing you can do to change your situation, there's nothing you can do to increase your satisfaction. You're bound by this narrative or story in your mind of duty to the things that you believe you have to do, which is all a story. It's all a learned thing. When you're living from this place, you're living as a victim because you are not at choice. You believe that you have no option. You believe that you have no power to do anything about it. And so we end up living in a way that we in our society relate to as the devil you know. But we say that and we don't acknowledge the fact that we are still living with the devil, the metaphor for an awful experience. So reframed, it's the awful experience you know. It's the awful experience you've gotten used to tolerating. That is the life most people are living. It may not be awful in every area. For some it is. For others, it might just be one area. Maybe it's your finance, your business, your career. Maybe it's your relationships. Maybe it's your health, which would be the worst. But in all of these areas, we have choice. We've just not been living that way for, in most cases, many decades. Life seems to happen to us. We are victims in our own life. Other people are determining who we are being. Other people are determining what's expected of us. And so we sacrifice our aliveness for the sake of getting along. And I don't mean getting along like getting along with each other. I mean getting along in terms of not disrupting the society's expectations, fitting in. And we get validated for it. Now, what does all this have to do with space? When you can't be with space, when you don't inject space into your life's experience, and we've explained a little bit about what that means, like not rushing from one call to the next call, or one meeting to the next meeting, or one obligation to the next, but actually intentionally creating space in your day where you're just up to nothing. You're practicing doing nothing for 30 minutes, it could be. But you need to inject space to hear yourself. Not your ruminations, not your anxiety, not your worry. That's not going to get you anywhere. I'm talking about the space where you can shut out even those thoughts and hear your own inner voice. In our Whole Life Architecture program, we talk about this as the weak signal of our emotional wisdom. Our emotions are incredibly wise, and they are a guidance system for us. But we don't know how to listen to them. I mean, we don't know how to make sense of them, how to hear them, how to glean the wisdom from them. We've been trained and taught mostly to just repress, ignore, and distract from them. When we create space, we create the opportunity to hear the voice within us, our own voice, our own creative intelligence, for what will bring us aliveness. Gandhi said that when what you think, what you say, and what you do align you enter the state of happiness. Happiness is when what we think, what we say, and what we do are in harmony, they're in alignment. Most of us aren't aware of what we think. Like we have thoughts that seem to think us, but we don't know at the deepest levels of our being what we think. Most of our thinking is someone else's thoughts. Most of our thinking is the expectations of society. It's about what we have to do, when we have to do it by, how we're going to do it, who's going to be involved. It's about shuffling from accountability and responsibility to the next responsibility, and the one after that, and the one after that, and then we go to sleep. These are not thoughts. These are habits. Scientists tell us that roughly 98% of what we do yesterday, we're going to do today, and we're going to do tomorrow. So if you haven't created a life by design and you're tolerating a life by default, you're living someone else's life, you're doing that every single day of your life until you learn to create space to hear your own voice. Your own inner voice. To start to connect to the desires you have, to start to connect to the sense of calling or purpose that you have, to start to connect to the aliveness that wants to be born from within you, the aliveness that's sitting there as a latent aliveness, buried under the conditioning of all of the rules and obligations and expectations of other people. And it's like trying to excavate something that's been buried. It's packed in with all this other stuff, all these expectations and worries and demands and rules for living. I love that name of that book that Jordan Peterson came out with, I don't know, about 6 or 7 years ago, 12 Rules for Life. What a ridiculous book. Like we need more rules. What we need is to learn how to hear our own voice and trust ourselves. We don't need anyone else telling us how to live our life. You can make your own rules when you trust yourself, because you know what connects to your aliveness. Instead, we make all of these other people multi-millionaires for their opinions about who we should be and how we should be. Why are we looking outside of ourselves? This doesn't mean we don't need community. It doesn't mean we don't need to be interacting and learning from each other. That's not what I'm suggesting, but that's not the nature of 12 Rules for Life. This is a projection onto you. And there's many examples like that in our society. What we need is to learn how to hold space for each other so we can all become who we authentically are. What we don't need to do is impose on each other how we live and expect you to do the same. You don't need to live my life, and I don't need to live yours. And yet we go around in our existence in our society behaving exactly this way. What we need to do is be able to connect to our own inner power, our own creator within. But we've got to create space. We've got to excavate all the rubble that is our conditioning, that has our own authentic self, our own voice buried. And with it, the potential of our aliveness. When you learn how to think about your own thinking, it's called metacognition. And when you learn how to become emotionally sober, and when you learn that you are capable of recreating your perceptual filter so that you see and experience life differently because your perception is your reality, you suddenly realize you have the ability to wield powers, creative powers, that can utterly transform your life, and you do not need to consume someone else's rules for who you should be. This is what we teach in whole life architecture. You become simultaneously the anthropologist of your own life, where you get curious about the life you're currently living, how you got here, and what constitutes it, and you become the architects, the artists of your own life, where you get to create a life by design. We don't tell you what that life should be. We don't have rules for living. What we do is we create a container and we teach you how to access your own inner intelligence and then let you create and architect the life by design that services your aliveness, your thriving, your calling. And that's the invitation. So I'd invite you, in the spirit of speaking about space, to create a little space in your life to consider spending 2 hours a week working on your life as your own creator architect of your life. Because if you're not willing to do that, then all of this someday, one day, hopefully stuff going on in terms of the life you wish you had, the job you wish you had, the relationship you wish you had, the health you wish you had, where you wish to live, all of these things, they just remain wishes. Hopes that get you by from one moment of unaliveness to the next, all the while dragging the devil you know along with you. We're going to move into our meditation now. And that meditation is actually a technique and a tool that is going to help increase space in your life. It's a watcher-observer meditation. The watcher-observer meditation is where we learn to watch our thinking, to observe our emotions. We don't repress anything. We allow our thoughts to emerge as they do. The brain thinks, it's just what it does. We don't need to attend to every single thought that our brain thinks, and yet we do. We're in reaction to pretty much all of it. Creating space in your life begins with creating space in the life of your mind. Your mind diet. What are you thinking? Why are you thinking it? And do you need to be thinking all the time? What would it feel like to have a quiet mind? Space for you to process the important things and not be bogged down by the unimportant thoughts that your mind just thinks. So in the watcher-observer meditation, we're learning to let our thoughts drift in and out of our awareness, where we don't have to react to every thought. We get to choose which thoughts are worthy of our response and which we can ignore. To know that, we have to know ourselves. We have to know what thinking aligns with us. There's a lot more work to it. But this technique is the beginning of that path. Learning to observe and watch your thoughts and observe and watch your emotions. Because with every thought, there's an emotion. We feel something about the thinking. We might be thinking about a situation. We feel something. I like it, I don't. It makes me happy or sad, whatever's going on for us. We have an emotional relationship to the life of our mind, to our thinking. Learning to let your emotions rise and fall. You feel them, but you don't react to them. And within about 90 seconds, the emotion comes in like a wave and also drifts out like a wave. It's actually our thinking about our emotions that keeps them alive. We have a negative emotion, what we call a negative emotion about a situation, and our thinking mind kicks in and we start thinking about that situation over and over and over and over again. We hold grudges. We become attached and fixated on these on these situations and the emotions that are associated with them. And you compound that over years, and we have a lot of noise in our head. So the watcher observer meditation is meant to inject space into this. So for the next few minutes, be seated in a comfortable position. Allow yourself to take a few deep cleansing breaths. And you are the watcher, observer of your thoughts and emotions. A thought will drift in. Let it drift in like a cloud drifting in against a blue sky. Let it drift in and out of your awareness. Don't attend to it. Don't ruminate on it. Don't fixate on it. Don't think it. If you find yourself doing that, bring yourself back, let it go. Maybe acknowledge the thought, name it if you have to. Sometimes if we do that, it's like our brain feels safe to let it go. But most of our thoughts are irrelevant and unnecessary in our everyday life. It's just noise. By injecting space, we learn to distinguish the signal, the weak signal of our intelligence from the noise of our chattery monkey mind. And the same with our emotions. You may have an emotion that is associated with and follows your thinking. Let it rise and fall in your body. Don't attend to it. Don't dwell on it. Let it dissipate. Learn to be the watcher, the observer. Learn to distinguish that you are not your thoughts. You are not your emotions. That is not who you are. Those are things that occur to you that you have the power to wield. But until you inject space, it will always occur to you that your thinking happens to you, that your brain is thinking you, that your emotions are feeling you. You are not in the driver's seat. So for the next few minutes, we're going to practice this. There's nothing to do, nothing to say. There's no guidance, just you observing and watching your own thoughts and emotions and letting them drift in and out of your awareness without thinking or feeling them as an obsession. Just let them go. I'll see you all in a few minutes. And welcome back, everybody. Reconnecting to the world without from the world within. Reconnecting from the spaciousness, hopefully, that you were able to create. If you weren't able to do it consistently that whole time, that's fine. You're learning. It's like anything. You get better the more you do it. But hopefully you had the experience this morning of some space, some opening, some expansion, even if so briefly. And see if you can stay connected to that space and expansion that you may have experienced and carry it with you as long as you can out into your day. See if you can stay in that watcher observer spacious space. As you get good at this, you'll be able to be in the world but not of it, meaning that you'll be able to participate in the world, but you won't get dragged down by all the drama, the reaction, the story, the loss of energy and time that so many people live their lives in by ruminating on everything, by being worried about everything, through stress and anxiety and all the mental health challenges. All of this is a result of two things: not having enough space in one's life and not being the master creator of one's life. So they're constantly shuffling along, trying to find ways to just get by and tolerate the life they're living, which is someone else's life, someone else's conditions that were placed on them. You'll be able to be in the world, but not of it. You won't be of it in terms of that dynamic. You'll be freed from it. You'll be released from it. You'll be liberated from it. And you'll be able to stand as a creator of your own life, standing in power, no longer as a victim. That's what's possible as you begin to practice mastering the art of creating space so you can be in the world and not of it. If you would like to know more about how you can accomplish this and attain this for yourself, you can go to TMICglobal.com, and we'd be delighted to have you inside of Whole Life Architecture. I want to wish everybody a wonderful day, and we will continue with a guided neural sculpting meditation tomorrow.